Hello viewers, my name is Zach Hardy and you are watching the Spalding Ball 5 pregame show. My apologies, I've come down with a cold and so the majority of my commentary for tonight's game will involve a much deeper voice myself. Don't worry, I'm not going through second puberty. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm simply dying. So, with this, Jesus fucking Christ, you are probably wondering what we've kind of worked up to here, what Spalding Ball 5 is all about, and what it means for the two teams competing in it. Well, what it means for both teams competing in it is they have a chance to etch their names into history. There have only been three different teams that have won the Spalding Ball Cup, or Spalding Ball Trophy. That would be the Connecticut Stampede, who won it twice, the Seattle Avengers, the Vegas Demons, who have won it once, and the Los Angeles Bolts, who have won it once. The two teams competing tonight, the Atlanta Bravehearts and the Tampa Silver Stars, are both competing in the game for their first time in franchise history, and both teams will be looking to win their first Spalding Ball Trophy. Therefore, we will crown a first-time Spalding Ball winner tonight in Spalding Ball 5. Now, when it comes down to it, both teams have had their road up to the Spalding Ball, but one thing they have in common is that both of the teams went into the playoffs with a 5-1 record. Excuse me. That's right. At the end of the season, at the end of the regular season, they play 6 games in total. There's 12 weeks, weeks 1-1 and 1-2, and so on and so forth, till we reach week 6-1 and week 6-2. In which case, all teams play at least 6 games. Both the Tampa Silver Stars and the Atlanta Bravehearts won 5 games in the season, only dropping 1. The Tampa Silver Stars dropping their game to the Texas Watchmen, and the Atlanta Bravehearts dropping their game to the Kansas City Core, both of whom also finished 5-1. However, when it comes down to it, in the postseason, both teams had a huge difference in terms of the path that they went to get here. For one, the Atlanta Bravehearts knocked off the Connecticut Stampede in the divisional round, and on top of that, knocked off the New York Sentinels in the Atlantic Conference Championship game. The Tampa Silver Stars, on the other hand, beat the 4th-seeded Los Angeles Bolts, who beat the Seattle Avengers, the surprise team to make it into the playoffs in 2018, to make it to the Pacific Conference Championship game, where they beat the Corey Fabiano-led Texas Watchmen. And before we continue onwards into the Spalding Ball 5 categories, I think it's now a great time to transition over to the discussion of the rookies from 2018's UFL season. Obviously, all of them coming from Holy Cross Crusaders franchise mode on this channel, as well as Jacob Serra, who made his way out of Hofstra. Jacob Serra, wide receiver from the Kansas City Core, became a huge target point for Jalen Hurns and in the Kansas City Core offensive lineup. He racked up a modest total for a rookie and really kind of became a big reason as to why the Kansas City Core made it into the postseason, squeaked by into the postseason with a 5-1 record. On the other hand, we've got another guy, wide receiver out of the Holy Cross Crusaders franchise mode, Kingston Zenick, who was drafted by the Arizona Copperheads. The Copperheads, of course, finished 3-3 this year, and along with the defending Spalding Ball champion Vegas Demons, just barely missed out in the postseason to the Seattle Avengers, to the 2-4 Seattle Avengers, based off of a tiebreaker. Now, when it comes down to it, we continue on with a list of rookies that we had this year. 2 most notable ones for very different reasons. Mark August, halfback for the Los Angeles Bolts, and Corey Fabiano, the aforementioned quarterback of the Texas Watchmen. Mark August was drafted number 1 overall by the Bolts and honestly did not have as good of a rookie season as you would think. He was a trendsetter and a trailblazer in the Holy Cross Crusaders franchise mode. That did not turn out to be the same case in his UFL debut of his rookie season. Got the same amount, third most rushing attempts this year compared to every other team in the league. That would be obviously the aforementioned Tampa Silver Stars, who will be playing tonight in the Spalding Ball with the my apologies, with the tandem of Curtis Samuels and Mike Weber. and of course the Connecticut Stampede with their halfback Corey Clement. He did not have as great of a season as we expected him to have. He kind of showed up. He played a modest first 2 games, had a great third game, and then it all just kind of became moderate and average, which is something that we're not very used to seeing out of Mark August. However, describing the modest and average season of Mark August, you cannot see the same thing for Corey Fabiano, who, if we're being honest, probably saved the Texas Watchmen's franchise. The Watchmen, who had been in Texas since the beginning, the inception of the UFL, were very slated to possibly be moving from Texas, or at least renaming, if there wasn't any sort of modicum of success coming to the franchise. That changed when Corey Fabiano was introduced to the Texas Watchmen franchise, in which he put up an astounding season, throwing for over 1,500 yards, a new record for rookies in the UFL, and 22 touchdowns on the season. A big deal, and a big reason, if not the biggest reason, for why the Texas Watchmen went to 5-1 this season. So definitely the standout player of the year, and Corey Fabiano, obviously the rookie of the year in 2018. On the other hand, we have all the established quarterbacks remaining in the UFL. Obviously, tonight we have Keller Jr. Christ of the Atlanta Bravehearts going up against J.T. Barrett, the most likely 2018 Player of the Year, MVP of the Tampa Silver Stars. But we have a large list of quarterbacks to talk about in the UFL this season. Most namely, Skylar Howard of the Cincinnati Lynx, aka the Tom Brady of the UFL. Now, Skylar Howard's contract comes to an end in Cincinnati this year, and we won't know for sure until Monday morning whether Skylar Howard will continue onwards as a Cincinnati Lynx, or Cincinnati Lynx, whatever you want to phrase it as. The guy who has put up records in the UFL, has been there since the beginning, is the all-time league-leading passing yards leader, who has wanted out of Cincinnati and has made that very, very clear, and his intentions very, very clear. However, after their run into the Pacific Conference divisional round, it is unclear as to whether or not the Pacific Conference championship game, in which they lost up to the Tampa Silver Stars, it is unclear at the moment as to whether Skylar Howard will continue on with the Cincinnati Lynx, or he will move on to another team in the UFL. But at the same time, there are other quarterbacks that could have their job on the line, and have also may have saved their jobs. Most likely to have their job very well on the line is Brett Rypien, the quarterback for the Detroit Stingers, who is coming off a second consecutive 1-5 record, has taken a huge hit in terms of his stock as quarterback. Had played pretty badly this year, the same as last year, and you can't blame it on a rookie season this year. The Detroit Stingers, if they want to have a future in Detroit, might want to look to move on from Brett Rypien, and they have an opportunity to do so. Another team that may be looking to move on from their starting quarterback is the Seattle Avengers, the team that is coming off of a most recent, last year, a Pacific Conference divisional round appearance under quarterback John Franklin, who played, I don't know exactly how to phrase it on how he played this year. The biggest way of saying it is that he had absolutely no help. His offensive line allowed the most sacks out of any quarterback in the UFL in 2018 with 39. And on top of that, overall in 6 games, that's a bad average. Also with the fact that he has suffered from a strained right shoulder, the fact that he may be continuing onwards in his career without the Seattle Avengers is not too unlikely, as he is, losing a step in terms of his throwing power and his accuracy. Not to mention, he's getting up there, 32 years old. The Seattle Avengers might want to move on from him. They have options. Quarterbacks, quarterbacks Kyler Crosby, formerly of the University of the Monroe Republic, Alphonse Vacanji, quarterback for the Holy Cross Crusaders franchise mode that we've seen earlier, Will Horton of the University of Georgia Fairburn, And also Colin Kaepernick, who may be coming onto the UFL in 2019. We still don't know for sure, but if that's the case, he will most likely be the most sought-after quarterback in free agency. However, when it comes down to other quarterbacks in the UFL that have made their name known as a possible contender throughout the next couple of years as being the franchise guy for their year, none I don't think is any more likely than Shane Buechele of the St. Louis Eagles. Shane Buechele putting up a hell of a season, much better than his last year's performance when he took over as the quarterback for a relocated St. Louis Eagles team that left Chicago as the Chicago Steam and really needed to establish an identity. They weren't able to do that in his rookie season, but however, he comes out this year and looks like an industrial level quarterback. A guy who plays scrappy, down to the bone, can get you any sort of yards and will fight for a modicum of yards just to be able to get to the first down marker. He's the guy that likes to push the chains. He's the guy that likes to put it downfield, and he's honestly probably one of the best choices that the St. Louis Eagles have towards being a franchise guy, and he played very well this year. It's going to be interesting next year to see how well he plays and to see if that success will continue onwards throughout his career. I'm certainly looking forward to it because he seems like a real great candidate to become the future face of the St. Louis Eagles. I'm really looking forward to that. Now, on top of that, we also have guys that kind of just played up to their expectations, most namely Mitch Trubisky of the Baltimore Capitals. Played pretty much the same way that he did last year, an average season. However, the Capitals went 1-5, and that is largely due to a lack of help from their defensive side of the ball. That came mostly from their secondary, which was just dismantled by any and every offense throughout the entirety of the season. They stake claim to the number 1 overall draft pick. So it's a case of whether the Baltimore Capitals want to move on from Mitch Trubisky, who brought them to the Atlantic Conference wildcard round last year, and go for another quarterback. As I said, Kyler Crosby, Alphonso Kanji, Will Horton, Colin Kaepernick, they're all in the mix this year, and it will be interesting to see exactly what they get away with and where they go from there. Onwards from that, we have other guys that kind of lived up to their expectations, though their team did not, most notably Deshaun Watson and the Orlando Crusaders, who after having a 5-1 season last year, in their franchise inception year, their inaugural season, gaining the first seed in the Atlantic Conference and a home field advantage before being dropped by the Connecticut Stampede in the Atlantic Conference Championship game, fell to a 2-4 record this year, just barely missing out on the postseason by a tiebreak with the New York Sentinels, who also went 2-4. This is not great, especially since Deshaun Watson was pretty much the best quarterback that he could possibly be. He had great numbers, threw for over 1,100 yards, had 12 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and ran for another 400. However, it was the remainder of the team, mostly the run game, that had very little impact on most games and left Deshaun Watson to play for a lot that he wasn't able to kind of give, and that was the overwhelming drop-off in terms of the Orlando Crusaders. So in order to step it up for next year, we're going to have to see a big overhaul in the run game. Now moving on from that, we have a bunch of quarterbacks that obviously lived up to expectations. Kansas City and Jalen Hurts, who had a great season, especially with the addition of Jacob Serra in the offensive side of the ball at receiver. He had a fantastic breakout year that saw him finish 3rd in MVP voting amongst quarterbacks. That also falling behind the eventual MVP for quarterbacks, or Player of the Year for quarterbacks, the Tampa Silver Stars' JT Barrett and the Connecticut Stampede's quarterback Zachary Serra. Moving on from that, we obviously have the aforementioned Zachary Serra, who has re-signed with the Connecticut Stampede, or has made it very clear that he intends to re-sign with the Connecticut Stampede. So we will be seeing number 2 back in Connecticut next season, which is a huge deal, especially since Connecticut is coming off of a Atlantic Conference divisional round sad loss, which came itself off of the back heels of a Spalding Ball 4 championship. So at the end, a lot to be said, but we continue on with the coverage of Spalding Ball 5. We've talked enough about the league. The biggest conversation point in terms of both teams going into this game are what do we look for to see both teams have the best opportunity at walking out Spalding Ball champions. For that, I go into the next segment, which I call 3 keys to victory. We'll look at both sides of the ball, both teams, and determine what 3 factors will become most important towards their overall success in Spalding Ball 5. And for me, this is probably my favorite segment this year. I know I get to do it one more time before the end of the season because there's so much to talk about with these two teams in just 6 short dots. Let's start with the Tampa Silver Stars. With the Tampa Silver Stars, number 1 is stopping the run game. Christian McCaffrey, the Atlanta Bravehearts starting halfback, finished this season with 136 attempts, which was the most in the UFL, 894 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 1 fumble that was not lost. Those are huge numbers that show exactly how much Atlanta likes to favor the run game. So being able to stop the run game is a huge dapper in the plans the Bravehearts have. Granted, they probably prepared for this since then, but at the same time, you can't expect Keller Jr. Christ to throw the ball through the air 30 times, which he has not done a single time this season, including the postseason. Meanwhile, Atlanta's first key to victory is obviously, number 1, balance. You want to be able to run. They have the worst run-pass differential in the UFL this year. The unpredictability of being able to determine whether on first, second, third, or even on fourth is going to be a passing or run play rather than knowing exactly what they're going to be going for and exactly what their tendencies will or are is probably the most important factor for Atlanta's success. The other factor for Atlanta's success is number 2, which is turn down the turnovers. Keller Jr. Christ must stop the potential turnovers from happening as a possibility. He had the most potential turnovers, aka batted passes, overturned interceptions, or possible interceptions without being able to break around the boundaries, with 6 possible turnovers, 1 including a fumble. That needs to be able to stop if Atlanta wants to have a shot at beating Tampa, especially considering Tampa's best option comes from their run game. Their dual-wielding Mike Weber and Curtis Samuel are the only halfback pair in the UFL this season who have at least 35 attempts and 300-plus yards. That is a huge deal, especially considering you need to have a lot of versatility as an offense. But if you can dictate whether one halfback or the other will get the ball, and you got to worry about 2 guys that can run it down your throat, that just makes it even more difficult for the defense. A defense that has to match up with you because Atlanta's third key to victory is defense, defense, defense. Defense obviously is a must step up as the offense battles a strict, potent Tampa defense. And if Atlanta wants to have a chance to succeed, their defense needs to step up as much as Tampa's will be. Tampa's defense has been deadly this season, getting the most sacks and the 3rd most turnovers in the league, which was a huge, huge, huge advantage towards the Silver Stars in their 2nd year of operations, getting towards Spalding Ball 5. Obviously, being able to stop the ball and keep the ball from being thrown over to the opponents, thrown over to the opposing side of the ball was a huge, huge deal for Tampa. They were able to get their defense off of the field most times. They were able to keep them off the field as long as possible, which is always a great thing to be able to give your defense a rest. And if they can continue to do that, they can continue to make quick work of opposing offenses, that will be a huge deal for Tampa. But Atlanta's third key to victory is to be able to stop that from happening. They need to wear down defenses, and they need to be able to get the offense of Tampa off of the field in order to get their defense, the Tampa's defense, back onto the field and keep that rest time down to a minimum. Tampa's third key to victory, on the other hand, is to stay still. Tampa is the only team this year with 15-plus offline false starts / offensive penalties, the most undisciplined offensive line in the UFL in 2018. Jumping the gun, false starts, strict offsides calls have been the ones that really brought Tampa down when it mattered most. A UFL leading 49 points given up, and on top of that, 220 yards given up because of false starts and offensive penalties called on the Tampa Silver Stars offensive line. That is something that needs to be quelled, something that needs to be nulled down, and on top of all of that, something that needs to be held within strict, and I mean strict, care. If your offensive line can't stand still, keeps jumping off and is costing you 10 yards of play, costing you a first down, that not only throws off your psyche, not only throws off your momentum, but it makes it even more difficult to be able to play call. Because a 2nd down and 9, when turned into a 2nd down and 19, not only becomes much less manageable, but much more difficult to be able to play for and be able to call for. So at the end of the day, to be able to keep that down to the absolute bare minimum is a must for the Tampa Silver Stars. On the other hand, we can now read off the starting lineups for the Tampa Silver Stars and the Atlanta Bravehearts. For the Atlanta Bravehearts, starting at quarterback is number 10, Kyler Jr. Christ. Starting halfback for the Atlanta Bravehearts, this is all for the Bravehearts. Starting halfback, number 5, Christian McCaffrey. Starting fullback, number 15, Reagan Williams. Wide receivers, starting for starters, number 1, Trent Irwin. Number 2, Michael Rector. And slot receiver, number 13, J.J. Whiteside. Starting tight end is number 8, Dalton Schultz. Left tackle is number 76, Casey Tucker. Left guard, number 71, Wes Schwettinger. Starting center, number 68, Mike Person. Starting right guard, number 57, Johnny Caspers. Starting right tackle, number 64, David Bright. Starting left end, this is the defensive side of the ball now. Number 89, Solomon Thomas. Starting right end, number 99, Luke Kamatula. Starting defensive tackles, number 67, Harrison Phillips, and number 75, Jordan Watkins. Starting left outside linebacker, number 34, Peter Calambale. Starting middle linebacker, number 44, Kevin Palma. Starting right outside linebacker, number 31, Joey Alfieri. Starting cornerbacks are number 24, Quentin Meeks, and number 11, Terrence Alexander. Starting free safety is number 12, Ben Edwards, and starting strong safety is number 14, Zach Hoffpoir. Starting kicker is number 3, Jim Bryant. And starting punter is number 9, Jake Bailey. That is the Atlanta Bravehearts starting offensive, defensive, and special teams lineup. The Tampa Silver Stars, their offensive starting lineup is quarterback number 16, J.T. Barrett, halfback number 4, and Curtis Samuel, and halfback number 25, Mike Weber. Both will interchange back and forth as fullback. Starting wide receivers, number 5, Corey Smith, number 80, Noah Brown, and number 1, slot receiver, Johnny Dixon. Starting tight end, number 85, Marcus Boss. Starting left tackle, number 76, Donovan Smith. Starting left guard, number 73, Junior Sweezy. Starting center, number 66, Pat Elfine. Starting right guard, number 74, Ali Marpet. And starting right tackle, number 69, DeMar Dotson. For the Tampa Silver Stars, starting defensive side of the ball, starting defensive 11, left end, number 7, Sam Hubbard. Starting right end, number 58, Tyquan Lewis. Starting defensive tackles, number 75, Michael Hill, and number 86, Draymond Jones. Starting left outside linebacker, number 17, Jerome Baker. Starting middle linebacker, number 6, Raekwon McMillian. Starting right outside linebacker, number 35, Chris Worley. Starting quarterbacks, let's get this done in one fell swoop. We got 5 minutes to go. Starting cornerbacks, number 3, Marshawn Lattimore, and number 8, Garyon Conley. Starting free safety is number 24, Malik Hooker. Starting strong safety is number 15, Damon Webb. Starting kicker is number 19, Roberto Aguayo, and starting punter is number 9, Brian Inger. With that, we move on to the predictions. And the predictions are in form of the Good Morning Football crew, because why the fuck not? Peter Schrager will predict that the Tampa Silver Stars will win this match 13-9. Kyle Brandt will predict that the Atlanta Bravehearts will win this game 21-17. Nate Burles predicts that Atlanta will win this game. The Atlanta Bravehearts will win this game 28-24. Kay Adams suggested the Tampa Silver Stars will win this game 30-24. I predict that the Tampa Silver Stars will win this game 27-24. And the game itself predicted that the Tampa Silver Stars will win the game 29-23. And with that, we move on from the UFL Spalding Ball 5 pregame show. The Atlanta Conference champions, Atlanta Bravehearts, face the Pacific Conference champion, Tampa Silver Stars. It all goes down next in less than 3 minutes here on the Unitards Network. If you want to watch the game live, you can go to twitch.tv/unitards. That is www.twitch.tv//UNITARDZZ. You can watch that game in full live. It will be uploaded in full right here tomorrow morning. And with that, you can watch the UFL post-game show after the game right here on YouTube. With that being said, you can find me on Instagram at THEZACKHARDY, and you can find my cold having ass on Twitter at ZACHARYSERRA. With that, and from everybody here in Port Washington, New York, we thank you very much for tuning in. We hope you enjoy Spalding Ball 5 live. And with that, I am Zach Hardy, and I am signing off. Thank you very much. I will see you on the live broadcast. And